Hi, my name's Londe Yusuf,
And my name is Reggie Williams.
and we're the co-founders of Black Film Space. Black Film Space is a grassroots organization dedicated to enhancing the skill sets of Black filmmakers and building a community of creatives. We host events such as screenwriting workshops, panels, mixers, and other events that are designed to support Black content creators.
In the next episode of the Black Film Space podcast, we interview Cylla Senii. Cylla is an actress, director, and producer of multiple web series. Her series, Situationships, is streaming on BET platforms. In the series Wingmen and 161 Feet Under, which she executive produced, are streaming on i1. We talk with Cylla about wearing multiple hats, building a following, the state of web series, and much more. And now, on to our interview. All right, Cylla, thank you so much for joining us in the Black Film Space podcast. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Can you talk about your journey from conceptualizing your web series to getting it on BET and i1?
It's definitely been a long journey. I was originally born in Queens. I grew up in Georgia, and I graduated from college, and I was really passionate about being a filmmaker and being an actress. And I was just wondering, how is that possible? How can I do it? And at the time, I was following the Issa Raes of the world, the Black and Sexies of the world. And I was very inspired by their work. And I was just like, wow, it's possible. You can create your own content and, create your own opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a chance to work at Bobcat Films in Atlanta. So I was on set, I was a production assistant, and I helped assist Roger Bob. And that was an amazing experience. I learned from a lot of actors, a lot of writers, a lot of producers there. It was an amazing experience. But one thing I noticed was that a lot of the actors, like the talent, they weren't from Atlanta. They were either from New York or LA. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to New York. So after I worked there, a year after I graduated, I moved back to New York. And I just banded together with a lot of my friends who were other filmmakers, other writers. And I told them, I was like, I want to make this show called Situationships. I think it would be really cool, very relatable. And I feel like if we all collaborate, we could create something really cool. So for the web series, I was like, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do everything and see what happens. So I ended up directing, writing, producing, and acting in the show. And that, I think it was, so 2014, I came up with the idea. 2015, I met Brandon Brathwaite, who's my amazing executive producer. I met Carl Logan, who's one of the amazing writers on the show as well. And I started forming my team. I met Iris Stevens, another amazing producer too. And that summer, we casted the show. We shot the show around Manhattan and Brooklyn. And it took about a year for us to get everything together as far as like production, editing, post-production. And then Valentine's Day of 2016, we put it out on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we all kind of promoted it on social media, started gaining a following. And by the end of that year, we had like 500,000 views on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. It was crazy, but we had like so much support. A lot of it was super organic. We got in like Blavity, we got a lot of press. And then by 2017, I was like, okay, I want it on a bigger platform, like a bigger like streaming platform or digital platform where people can see it. So I had an amazing opportunity to meet Jonathan, who's one of the founders of Blavity.com. And I let him know about my show. I was like, hey, like I love Blavity. I would love for it to come to your platform because I saw that Amanda Seales had her projects on there. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be great. And they were amazing. They collaborated with me and helped me relaunch season 1 on Blavity. And that was amazing. They helped promote it, a lot of amazing social media posts and campaigns, a lot of write-ups. That was awesome. And then I was like, okay, it's time to do season 2. So in 2017, we ended up shooting season 2 that summer. And a lot of people were like, when is it coming out? We want to see what's next. When do we want to see what's next? And I was like, you know what? When I do the second season, I want it to look like a real TV show. Like, this is on a network. I was like, that's where I wanted to go next. I met some amazing filmmakers and cinematographers. So I met Ty Stone, who's my amazing DP. He had a beautiful eye. I met some amazing other people, other actors, other filmmakers. It was just like a labor of love, and a lot of people supported me. I met LaVaro Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He was my amazing editor, and an amazing support to season 2 of the show as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kept saying I want it on a network. I want it on a major streaming platform by January 2018. I was like, I want it on one of these types of platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think by fate and by God and everything, I happened to connect with someone on Instagram, and this person's name is Jason, and he reached out to me on IG, and he was like, oh, it's so funny. Brandon's calling me right now. I will text him back. So, yeah, Jason reached out, and he actually worked at BET Digital, and he was like, I have been following your show. I think it's amazing. Would you be interested in having it on BET? I was like, yes.
Let me think about it. Let me get back to you.
Right. No brainer there.
I was like, yes. And BET was always one of the places, like on my top 3 places I thought this show could live.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had been following Black and Sexy for years, and they were one of the first like web series that I saw actually air on BET. And I was like, oh my gosh, this would be amazing. So we ended up talking, and I met him. I pitched him the show. He was like, okay, let me bring you in. I ended up meeting their amazing VP, Jermaine. He was amazing. I pitched it to him, and I was like, look, I'm going to get in this room, and it's going to happen because you only get one opportunity. So I was like, it's going to happen. So I meet with them, and they loved it. They were like, wow, like, how did you do this? I was like, I don't know. I work all the time and on weekends and after work, and we all banded together, and I let them know, like, so many people believe in this, and it's going to be huge. So not only did BET want to work with us, but we also got an offer to work with Amazon as well. So by January, we had an amazing opportunity to either go on BET or Amazon, which was my goal, that within a year, my show would be able to go somewhere great.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely decided BET was the best option.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an amazing experience to work with them. They were like extremely supportive. So it's just like, so many people want to do it, and to actually have an opportunity to have something go live on BET was just amazing. And then I also had the opportunity of working in development at Nickelodeon. So to actually see how many people have to say yes,
yes,
to go out, that was definitely a blessing that I am very grateful for. So in 2018, season 2 went live on BET Digital. That was wild and a crazy experience. And it was just so funny and cool and like dope. And I happened to be in the building while this was happening. And I was like in meetings, and in one meeting, like my face came on the screen, and like my coworkers were like, what's this? I was like, what's that? It was like the coolest thing. And I try to be low key, but I was like not low key at all. And like, it was just beautiful. So now we are working on what's next. We got a lot of things coming down the pipeline. So during this time, I am writing. Now's an amazing time to write, especially with this quarantine.
For sure.
But it's been an amazing journey. And at the same time of doing Situationships, we also produced the spinoff called Wingmen,
Yes.
which was created by Carl Logan, who's also a writer on Situationships. And so Situationships is more female driven, Wingmen is more male driven. So after Situationships went on BET, then in 2019, immediately after that, we launched Wingmen on YouTube. That had an amazing run. And then I think by like the fall, we ended up meeting our partners at I1 Digital, and they have an amazing platform called A Space for Creators, which is another amazing place for filmmakers to have their work seen. And so we connected with them, and Car was able to get his project on I1 Digital, which launched by the end. It launched in like December 2019. So that is very fresh. And now we're in 2020.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, this is all like really incredible. How did you manage to wear all these different hats?
I wonder sometimes. I think it was because I love doing it. So it doesn't even feel like work or like anything. I just love creating worlds and telling stories. So I think, I have a background working in advertising, working in entertainment. So I'm able to tell stories in short bites, but also I just have a talent for writing and doing long form content as well. So I just feel like it's just been something I've always loved doing throughout my life. But I feel like after college is when I actually allowed myself to do it and share it. So it's just something I always love doing. I think I've just been able to manage it by I feel like a lot of people are in a rush. And I feel like I've been able to manage all those hats just by like taking my time with everything. Yeah.
Well, tell us about a time where like maybe those two roles that you were playing on set may have collided at some point, and how did you, work your way through it?
So I think when you play a lot of hats, it can be hard too. So I think when I'm acting, but also directing, I definitely leaned a lot on Brandon to help guide me through different scenes where I can't be looking at the monitor and acting at the same time. So learning how to accept support and actually to delegate as well. That was like the biggest thing, because sometimes when you're so close to it, it's good to have other people's perspectives on it and also allow those people's visions to come to life too. So I think it's just all about the team and knowing how to work with people and trusting your team with your vision. I think that's important too.
For sure.
Brandon was your DP?
Brandon is my executive producer, and he also helps co-direct.
Got you.
Got
you. So you mentioned that you work at Nickelodeon, and you got to see how many people have to say yes to get a project on the air. Can you give us a little briefer of how many people have to say yes and what they're looking for?
Absolutely. It all depends on like the company and like their structure, but you have a whole development department where you're pitching ideas, and it has to go through like your director, then through their VP to their SVP, and then it has to go through legal teams, and all of those, that whole group of people have to say yes. Like, it's so many things that has to be approved to really get something through. So you need to know the person who's like a green lighter, or the person who actually can say yes to something. And then how do you know what they want? I think it's all about just studying their audience, studying the content that they have out there, and then seeing how you think that your project can fit into that.
Can you talk about your prep process with producing projects?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Actually, talk about every stage. So producing, directing, acting.
Well, first, it starts with, the idea, then the writing of it. Say if you're carrying all those hats. So, and that is a beast in itself, making sure that your characters are developed, making sure, are you getting feedback on your writing? Are you working with a script doctor? Are you working with your team? It's like so many different things when it comes to the writing and getting that perfect. Then from there, getting your team and working with them on like the overall logistics of the shoot. Do you have the right equipment? Do you have the right DP? Do you have the right people with the right skill set to do it? Do you have the budget? Then breaking that down into a schedule, then coordinating with all the actors, everyone on your team to make sure that their schedules all align with this. Then it's like, do you need insurance? It's like a whole running list, like just everything that a real production has to go through to bring something to light. It's a lot. When I think about it myself, I'm like, how did I do this?
Yes.
I had a lot of time. So like when I first got to New York, I didn't know too many people. I had like a few, like maybe like 4 friends that I really had when I would come for internships over the summer. So when I was doing like the first season, I would like go to work and then I would come home and I would like go through all of my spreadsheets and all my documents, and I would just plan it out on weekends or after work because I wasn't really distracted. Then like season 2 started like knowing a lot more filmmakers, knowing a lot more people, and I still had the time. So now I think it's just a matter of time management too, and actually knowing what you're doing, taking the time to learn the craft. And also patience. I think a lot of that had to do with patience and like giving myself the time, because I feel like a lot of people feel like things just happen overnight and it's just there, but really it's a lot of work.
So what are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to producing your web series, and how did you overcome them?
Just making sure that the people that you're working with are all on the same page as you, especially when you're doing independent work. I feel like being a good leader is extremely important, because if you aren't together, then the whole thing will fall apart.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah. I feel like, and then giving yourself and other people grace, like understanding like this is a collaborative process and it takes time. Just knowing what your end goal is super important, because it will help feed like the project overall and feed why everyone's doing it. But I think just making sure that you have the right people who know what they're doing on your set. That is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate more just about like being on the same page? Where like were there instances where you felt like maybe some people on your team weren't quite getting your vision, or maybe they weren't as committed as you would like them to have been?
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to like people being committed to your projects and things like that, I feel like at the end of the day, you have to realize that you're going to be like your biggest everything in the project, and understanding that other people have lives and other things that they need to do as well. So I think leading with gratitude is a big thing, and is a reason why a lot of people enjoyed working with me, because it's just like, I'm just happy that we're all here and making something great together. So I think anyone who's worked with me can definitely attest to like, I've always appreciated people, but also understanding that you will have to pick up the weight of everything that needs to be done if you're creating something. And I feel like sometimes not everyone understands that when it comes to creating your own content. I feel like some people think it just happens and it's overnight and it's quick, but really it takes a lot of time and hard work. And this is not a game or a joke when when you're really trying to make television or movies or any type of content. Like, just respect the craft. And if you respect it and you respect other people, then you're going to create something awesome.
Can you talk a little bit about putting budgets together? How are you able to afford to be able to do things?
I feel like, at least for my first 2 seasons, I didn't crowdfund, though I think crowdfunding can be a wonderful tool if you use it correctly. But I didn't crowdfund. I was working in advertising, so I would pay for the equipment that I could afford. I would ask friends, like, do you mind if we use this? A lot of people, it was a labor of love. A lot of people helped for free, or if I could pay, I would pay. But a lot of it was just sourcing amazing talent, asking for favors, collaborating across. A lot of times, some people would work on my projects for free. I'd work on their projects for free. But it really just depends. I feel like, but if you have a budget, or if you have a budget, there are a lot of places that are giving grants. You can do crowdfunding. And then once you have the budget, then I think it's just about understanding the actual rates that people are going by to be on your crew. I think it's about understanding, do you need insurance, whether it is at certain locations or venues, or even the streaming platform might ask for certain types of insurances. I think it's just about knowing, like, are you doing a union or non-union project? I just feel like if you have a budget, you should pay. If you don't have a budget, then understanding what people will and won't do. And I feel like if you all have a unanimous goal about what you want to do, everyone can win.
I actually wanted to go back to your workflow process, your preparation process, because it's really challenging to direct and act and produce in a project where you're self-funding. Like that's really admirable. It's really ambitious. And you said you have a co-director and you had support. How did you, like, what was your directing process like in preparation? Like, how did you prep scenes? How did you compartmentalize the workflow? Like, what did your co-director do? What did you do? Like, could you elaborate more on that?
Totally. So when I would cast for each season, we would do our table read, then we would have rehearsals after that. And then when we would get to set, everyone would be delegated their different tasks, because I just can't do everything. So we'd prep the set first, and then my talent would go to a specific room where they can all relax. They can get into character. My stylist would work with them. My makeup artist would work with them. My producers would make sure that the set was where it needed to be. My DP and my gaffers, they would get everything prepped for the set. And then I would make sure that everything was where it needed to be. Everyone was there. And I'd go through like my list of just everything. And we shot at so many different places as well. I feel like my hardest day was probably when we shot at American Whiskey. It's like a huge venue, and I feel like I had like 50 people coming that day. That day was crazy. So making sure, if I'm at like a different location, connecting with the owner, making sure that technically everything is set, the lighting is all set. And then for me, after everyone is dressed and ready, then we would block everything. So I'm in my director mode. I'm working with Brandon, and I'm letting the scene play out. And then after I see that, then I would act and we would rehearse it. With Brandon watching, I'd come back, look at the takes, look at the monitor, cool. And then we would shoot. And then we would shoot by location as well. And depending on the complexity of the scene, because I didn't want to shoot more than 8 hours a day. Most days, we wouldn't shoot more than 8 hours a day. Depending on the scene, we would try to shoot a scene in like an hour, depending on what it is. I think it's just about making sure you're as prepared in advance as possible before you even get there, before you even get to the set. And then I'd be the first one there, last one to leave. It was a lot, but it was a lot of fun.
And Brandon was he giving direction in between takes, or were you guys just like moving on the fly?
He would definitely give direction where it was needed, but a lot of times we had done so much rehearsal prior to that it was more of like a blocking thing, and also making sure that the talent was hitting their marks and just like performing to their best abilities. So, but another thing, like if we would get the take, then we would get one extra shot, but we wouldn't keep going. So if we got the take, then we got the take and we would move on. So that was something that I'd sometimes have to battle with my DP. He's like, no, I want to do this. I'm like, if we got it, then we got it. So just knowing how to manage like different personalities, different team members as well, but also making sure that everyone's vision can come to light, but also like, we got to move on.
Yeah. What was can you paint the picture of what your rehearsals are like?
Absolutely. So after our cast, and we would have the table read, and then I think we had at least 3 rehearsals for like 3 hours. I'd block out like 3 hours of time, and then all of my actors, I think the first time we would just kind of like rehearse it through that. And then like the second time we would get together, we would actually kind of block things out depending on like the complexity of the scene. And then the third time, we're just running it to make sure people know their lines and everything's good. And then when we would get to set, then we would actually have, I think, it was a lot of moving parts because we would shoot by location. So say if it's in someone's apartment, all the scenes in that apartment would be shot in that day. All like everyone would have to bring all of their clothes for all the different scenes. And then if there are different groups of people in that apartment, say like the first half has characters A and B, the second half has A and D, then while the first set of actors are going, then the second half will be rehearsing in the room, and then they would in another room, and then they would come out. So just kind of making sure that everyone's making use of every single moment on set and the time that we have.
Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with the DP and how you manage that too? In terms of how they may, let's say the DP has a vision that, they're really committed to, but you have another vision and you're also managing acting and everything. Like, have you ever been in a scenario where you had to really like, put the kibosh on some conflict there?
Absolutely. I won't say, like, I've definitely worked with a lot of different DPs over like this project and other projects. So if there was a time where I didn't agree, or it just wasn't coming to fruition, because sometimes DPs are very opinionated.
Right.
And they want it done their way, but it's also like, no, it's really my way. But also it's our way. So once you find like your person, then it's like super easy because like you both mesh. And sometimes you're not always going to be on the same page as someone. So just kind of understanding, picking your battles where it really matters. But I've had probably only like 2 big scenes where I was just like, we are not on the same page, and this isn't it. And then I communicate what it needs to be done, because like, it's like, we don't have time to waste just because like this angle looks crazy. So it's just like, I'll just tell them what needs to be done, and then we're gonna do it. So sometimes you just have to put your foot down. But I will say that Ty has been one of my favorite DPs to work with, and I think with Ty, because he's a perfectionist, so sometimes he'll want to play with lighting for at least for like 2 hours. So
wow.
so sometimes I'll be like, Ty, like we have to shoot now. So that might be the only thing, but it's because he wants it to be perfect, and I respect that. Because I'm like the same way, but sometimes it's just like we don't have any more time, and I promise you it looks great. Yeah.
What do you look for in a DP, and like what is your first conversation like?
Let's see. Well, first I'll look at their work to see, visually, like, is this something that works for me? Do I see the potential in what we could create together? If I see that, then when we meet, just seeing like how easy will it be for us to work together? Are we on the same page, like with the vision of where we want to take it? And then like when you're on the same page, then it's like magic and it's like amazing. And I definitely got that with Ty. There was one other thing. I would love to work with more women. I'm like, where are they? Because I meet a lot of women who are directors, which is great, who I also want to work with, but where the Black women DPs, I want to work with them. That's like a thing.
They do exist. They're out there, but there's not as many.
There's not a lot. Do you see it? I mean, do you feel like there's a difference in the way that women versus men direct and shoot content?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to see more of it. So if there are any Black women DPs out there,
okay,
please contact me.
Can you talk a little bit about post-production? Like, how do you arrange that? And I know that that's like one of the biggest expenses for productions, especially if you're operating under an indie budget. Can you talk about how you navigate all of that?
Absolutely. I feel like season 2, we worked with Necessary Studios, which is owned by LeVaro Jones and his amazing partner, Mel. He's fantastic. He's amazing. He's works at a ton of different, LeVaro's worked at a ton of different networks. So has Mel, and they have an eye for everything post-production. So I had an amazing conversation with him. LeVaro, he's a mentor of mine, and he basically lifted that whole thing off of me. It definitely was very much needed, because in order to have like the quality that we all aspire to have, you just have to have the right people with the technical skills to really polish your post-production. And because I edited some of season 1 as well. I worked and I was like, I can't do that for season 2. I was like, I will not be touching. Like, I can do a lot of different things, but also there are people who love doing these things.
Right.
And just because I can do it doesn't mean that I can't work.
You should.
That I should. And there are some things, I can do, and some things I just need to give to other people who are professionals. So I worked with him, and that was a wonderful experience. And so when it came to the post-production, it was about just getting everything labeled properly, like handing that off to him. And then after that, we had like an assistant editor who would do the first pass. Then they would give it to LeVaro. He would do the final passes. And then I would come to his studio, and then we would picture lock all of that. Then from there, it would go to Mel, who would mix everything. And then it would go to Ty, who colored everything. And then it would go to Maya, who's our music supervisor. She would add on the music. And we would all just work together. And at the time, we were basically doing like a rolling editing process so that I could deliver everything to BET. Yeah.
So it sounds like you make good use of like the local New York artist community.
Yes, absolutely. Like I just had the opportunity to work with a lot of really awesome and amazing people. So I love all of them.
How many people are typically on your crew on set?
On like the bigger days, it was probably 15 people. And then like on smaller days, maybe like 5 or 6 people, I think.
Like who? Like which positions rather? Not like their
give me names.
Absolutely. So we would always have a director, a producer, like 2 to 3 PAs, our DP, our sound engineer, a gaffer. So that might be more, maybe like 7 people. But on bigger days, we would have more support. And then on bigger days, we've had two DPs to capture 2 different angles at the same time.
So you said earlier that you shoot you like to keep your shoot days to 8 hours. Why 8 hours?
I feel like, well, until I have the proper budgets where everyone's getting paid how they need to be paid, there's only a certain amount of time that I feel comfortable working with people who are lending their time and efforts to me.
That means you have to be running a really tight set, and everyone's got to be punctual and all that stuff. How many pages are you shooting in 8 hours?
Season 2, I think, was like 63 pages altogether. We shot it in 17 days.
Okay.
Wow. You shot that amount of pages in 2 weeks? Wow.
About 4 pages a day.
Yes, but it was spread out over the summer. So like,
okay.
Yeah. So we would shoot maybe like 2 days of one weekend, take a rest week, 2 days of another weekend, or kind of like that.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah,
that's definitely manageable for sure. Can you talk a little bit about your leadership style, especially because you're juggling so much? If you were to ask someone on your crew, what's Cylla like? What do you think they would say?
They would be like, Cylla's a lot probably, but they would have a lot of fun. Everyone has fun on my sets. We're all like a family and we love each other and we have an amazing time. I feel like they just know I'm like all over the place, but I'm ready. And it gets done. And they know that if they work with me, it will go somewhere and it will be worth your while for sure.
Nice.
Can you talk about the following that you built for Situationships? Like, I know earlier you said it was organic, but can you give us a little bit more? Because seems like you had a lot of support. So like, how did you get that support, and how did you build your network? Because you have a really robust network of creatives. So like, what tips can you give us? I want your network. So
and y'all are the network, okay?
How much did Black Film Space impact?
It was huge.
Yeah, talk about that too. Yeah, we gotta plug ourselves on this podcast.
I'm like, you want my contacts? I'm like, y'all are the plug. Black Film Space is amazing. I always would enjoy. Was it like every summer there would be like a party, like a
mixer?
Yes, like. I feel like that's super important. I've met a lot of amazing filmmakers through Black Film Space, just a lot of amazing creatives. I'm sure a ton of people who've touched my project are part of Black Film Space or go to your events, but it's amazing. I feel like I would either be at your events or just like other meetups with artists, other clubs like Driven Society, or just like I would just be at the places with other creatives or other actors. I feel like over the years, it's just about meeting people, but also maintaining those relationships is extremely important. I feel like now is an amazing time to stay connected with people. I feel like it's just kind of like progressed over the years. Cause like I said, I grew up in Georgia, so when I got to New York, I really didn't know many people. But I think, just joining clubs and being around those groups of people was extremely important.
Yeah. What do you do to keep in touch with people? Like,
I try my best to send quarterly emails. I put it in my calendar to like reconnect with people, or I'm always just like meeting up with my friends. Like sometimes a friend will be like, I have an idea. Do you want to like go to coffee? Do you want to go to happy hour? Let's talk about it. I think it's just being open and just being willing to collaborate and meet people. And I think it's just important to support your creatives, support your creative friends, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot for us to create something from nothing. So I just think it's good to support anyone who's doing something. I also don't mind mentoring people too. I have through my college, I just try my best to stay connected and give back where I can as well. I have like 3 mentees from my college who some of them are interested in entertainment, some in film, some in media. And I just think it's important to stay connected, give back, and help where you can, because you never know how that can really help someone.
You said you have 500,000 views for Situationships. Like, what was the formula for that?
I feel like, well, YouTube, it's like also about understanding the platform and how to reach your audience. I think we had a really good social media campaign to promote it as well. Even when we launched season 2, it took like 8 months maybe for it to go live on the platform. So we had built out like a whole social media account, like a content calendar about what we were going to post every day and how we were going to send people to watch the show. So I just did a lot of research and I studied a lot of shows that were already like on television. Like, how are they marketing this? What can I do? And we have so many resources at our fingertips with social media. It's like you can get as creative or as big or as small as you want to. But I think having an overall plan for the show, whether it was shooting it, producing it, distributing it, promoting it, and marketing it on social media, it's like a lot of stuff that you have to do. So it was just all about planning in advance, just like any other business or show or network does. And once you have an amazing plan, then once it's time, then everything's already ready and you just like hit go.
How do you feel about people using web series in 2020 to get on the map as opposed to when you started in 2016?
I feel like it's a huge opportunity right now for content creators across the board to do it, because just the capabilities of technology right now is amazing. So you can make a whole show with an iPhone or with your phone. I feel like now is the best time to do it. Especially if you know like what your intentions are for it. And especially if you're ready to work hard to make that vision a reality, because I feel like now everyone is doing it, which is great. But I think you should definitely do it for the right reasons, and why, like, you should know what you're doing it for.
What's interesting is, like, I think everything you said is correct. Like, it's an amazing time to be a content creator, and it's very, easy compared to 20 years ago. I think some of the challenges is the marketplace is very saturated.
Definitely.
Like if you look at 2010 when people first started doing web series to 2015 to 2020, there's so much more content, not even just independently. Like there's so much content on Netflix. You've got Amazon doing stuff. You've got Snapchat, Facebook has original content, like short form content on your phone.
Absolutely.
Which is, they are looking to capitalize on the short form wave that's happening in the last 10 years. So it's like, as an independent content creator who is putting their heart, soul, literally their paycheck, and that's looking to build a following. It's like, what is the incentive of doing a web series over doing a short film? You know, I mean, you can send your web series to film festivals, but I guess I'd want to know, like, why you want to continue doing web series at the moment as opposed to a short film, and like, how do you get your stuff out there when there's so much content nowadays?
I feel like both web series and short films are great. I would even be interested in doing shorts just because it's like you can focus in on it more, to me. Well, you can focus on both, but if you're just focusing on one short, depending on how long it is, instead of doing so many episodes independently, like you can really focus in on that one piece and have it and take your time with it. I do think that with web series, you just have to be ready to, you just have to have a certain amount of endurance to complete it. But the second part of your note, you said, why would you continue doing web series instead of shorts? And then what was the other part?
Just like, how do you stand
How do you
out?
get out there? Yeah.
Get out there. I feel like the first step is getting it out there, is putting it out there. But two, it's also, what is your end result? Like, what is your intent with putting it out? So I feel like when you know what your end result is, or what do you deem it as successful for putting this out? I think when people define what that looks like, then that will help them know how to put it out and get the result that you want. So with me, I knew that my end result was to get my web series on a network. So I spent a lot of time studying the networks that I wanted my project on, and how are they promoting it, and how are they reaching their people. Took the time with like the casting, like, how can I make sure that my cast is talented, to do this type of work? How am I going to market us together? How am I going to put it out? So anything that I do, I stress to a lot of my friends too, is like, take your time. Because right now I feel like we all feel like we got to rush and like put everything out immediately and just get it out there. But it's like, okay, we'll get it out there, but like, what is your end result? Did you take the time to really strategize about how to make your vision come to life in whatever way that is, whether that's to get it in a film festival? Have you taken the time to learn what type of projects will get in, what type of quality they're looking for, what type of content are they looking for, or whether it's to do a film festival, get it on a network, whether it's to just create something amazing, is it because you want to put it on social and have it go viral? So it's just about understanding your market, and then understanding what end result you want, and studying other successful projects, and then doing the research, and then actually implementing it for yourself. So for me, it just takes a lot of time. And now, like, for the future, it's like, for new projects that I'm doing, it's just about making sure that the content that I'm putting out is really thought out, and it's not rushed, and is right, so that when you put it out, or when you get into those rooms, that you're ready, because that's important. So planning definitely helps me.
What do you think about platforms like Quibi, the new platform for, mobile content? How do you think that's going to affect web series?
I think Quibi is cool. I need to check it out. I feel like it's going to be great for web series. I just have to see, like, do they have like an original web series section, or will more people get to license their work there? But I think it's just pushing it forward. The fact that content is always going to be very much needed. And I do believe that after this quarantine is up, like come the fall, people are going to need new content. So now is an amazing time for independent filmmakers, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Quibi is by nature just like, it's just web series essentially with famous people and absurd amount of money. So it's like they're really trying to like.
Is that what it is?
Basically, it's like, think of the biggest actors and directors that you can think of in 10-minute episodes.
Wow.
Yeah, with like an absurd amount of money. Like, so think of like Netflix in a short form.
Wow.
That's what they're doing. So it's kind of like, you know, they're just coming in and they're trying to take this shit over. Like, you know, it's like, why? The question I ask myself, and I'm not looking to do a web series at the moment, but the question I ask myself is how do I get somebody to watch my work when I don't have famous actors and I don't have millions of dollars to pour into marketing? And I think for Quibi, I mean, like the last thing is kind of like the web series, and they're kind of like taking it over. I actually think it's not. I don't know how they're gonna fare because I feel like they're a few years behind. You know, Snapchat and Facebook.
It does feel kind of late, to be honest.
Like there's already Snapchat, Facebook, YouTube, basically do what they're doing, except they're gonna try to take it to the next level. So yeah,
it's interesting. Like, I feel like it's just gonna keep going from here. Like, there are just so many different platforms now competing for attention. So to your point, it's like, how do you break through? I think it all comes down to the content, for sure. The authentic content and the audience. I think you don't have to worry about reaching everyone, but you like focusing in on the people that you really want to see it and nourishing that audience. If it resonates with them, it doesn't matter the platform. They will be drawn to your content if it resonates. So I think making sure that whatever you're making can speak to that, and then focusing in on who you actually want to talk to. Once they get connected to it, they will support it. So it's just about being where your people are, you know?
Yeah, I think that's true, and I do think the path is, you know, having a unique voice, because even despite all of the platforms that exist now, in my opinion, a lot of the stories with Black characters and with Black filmmakers are the same. You know, like when the movie Uncorked came out, I was very excited just simply because it was about a Black dude who wants to like go into the wine business. I forgot the proper term, but like that alone excited me, and that's
sommelier.
Like,
whatever. I'll be here all day trying to pronounce that. But to me, that is like, I guess that's the hope that I have, is like, in one way it's kind of frustrating because it's like, all right, we got all these platforms, and I feel like it's the same kind of stories over and over. But at the same time, it's like for independent creators, it's like you said, you know, figure out who you are, what story you want to tell, and like where your niche audience is, and like how to get it in front of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And then with social media, you can target them pretty easily and then just speak to them in an authentic, organic way, and it'll come naturally. But you just can't. It takes time, especially when you're an independent person. Like, you just have to have endurance. And I feel like the best advice that I got last year, I was in a panel with a development executive for Comedy Central. And he said that the best advice that he had to give was outlast everyone. He was like, a lot of people want to work in development, a lot of people want to work in television, and they quit after 2 years, like 1 or 2 years. And he was like, just keep going. So whatever it is that you want to do, it's just like, if you don't quit, you'll get there eventually. So just know that it's possible.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah.
That's facts.
So Cylla, tell us what's next with you and your career, not only as a content creator, but also as an actress.
I have a few projects currently in development. Yes, one of them I'm working on a new pilot, and I'm focusing on writing right now because, like I said, with everything going on in the world right now, which is horrible. I just feel like right now, all that I can do is one, sit still, but, two, we can still plan for the future. And I feel like right now I will be writing a lot of new pilots between now and the end of summer. But yeah, I'm just taking my time a lot. I'm just taking my time a lot more because it's just not a race. And I feel like it feels good being patient and making the best thing that I can. So yeah, new scripts will be done this year. And then I have an announcement coming soon. Must stay tuned.
Situationships season 3.
I have an announcement coming soon.
I think Reggie figured it out, but we won't press. It's cool.
But it's good. It's good things. And I think everything in its right time. So I just want to get better at what I'm doing as far as the acting. I am getting everything ready because when we are all out in the world again, it's going to be so busy. Mm-hmm. So I'm just getting everything I can possibly get ready. And I'm starting to feel like I need to go to LA. I don't know. Not this year, but it might be coming, y'all. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Well, let us know before you head out west.
I will. I definitely will. I'm feeling like, I don't know. It's sunny over there.
Yeah. You could stop right there.
It's a little slower.
Mm-hmm. Cool. We'll stand by.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Well, Cylla, thank you so much for joining us today on our podcast. We wish you the very best with your career. We look forward to hearing more updates. And why don't you let the listeners know how they can follow you and keep in touch with you?
Totally. Thank you guys for having me. Like, this was a ton of fun. I had a great time. For everyone else, feel free to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Cylla Senii, CYLLA SENII. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cylla, for your time and your insight.
Of course. Thank you guys for everything, and keep doing what y'all are doing because this is really helping our community. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Black Film Space podcast. If you're interested in being part of our community and attending events, please visit us at blackfilmspace.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Black Film Space. Subscribe to our email list and podcast. All right, see you soon.